In 1985, CIA satellites flew over a remote mountain range in southeast China. What they found made the Pentagon hold its breath. Hundreds of giant, symmetrical structures, round and square, lined up across the hills. They looked exactly like nuclear missile silos. The US government panicked. They sent spies to the area. They needed answers. What they found shocked the world. These were not weapons. They were not military bases. They were homes. Homes that had stood for hundreds of years. Homes that held hundreds of people. This is the story of those homes. We call them Tulou, the Chinese Earth castles, and the story of the people who built them, a group of refugees who ran for 1,000 years and built the most unbreakable homes on Earth. First, who built these giant buildings? They are called the Hakka people. You might think they are an ethnic minority. You are wrong. They are Han Chinese, the largest ethnic group in China. But they are different from every other Han group. Every other Han group is named after the place they live. The Hakka are not. Their identity does not come from the land they stand. It comes from their blood, their culture, their story. People call them the Jews of the East because, like the Jewish people, they spent centuries wandering, running from war, looking for a place to call home. Today, more than 80 million Hakka people live across 80 countries, from China to Taiwan to Singapore to the US. Even Singapore's founder, Li Guangyao, was Hakka. But their story starts in central China, in the Yellow River Valley, the heart of ancient Chinese civilization. And it starts with war. 1,700 years ago, central China fell apart. War broke out. Rulers fought for power. Tribes from the north invaded. Millions of people died. Homes burned to the ground. For the farmers and scholars who lived there was only one choice: run. They packed their things. They took their families. They walked south. This was the first great migration of the Hakka ancestors. They settled in the Yangtze River Valley. They built new homes. They thought they were safe. They were wrong. 500 years later, war came again. The Anlushan Rebellion, then the Huangchao Uprising. Armies swept across the land. The new homes burned. Again, they ran further south. This time, they went into the mountains, the borderlands between three provinces, Fujian, Guangdong, Jiangxi. This place was far from the capital, far from the war. But it was not empty. Local people already lived here, and they did not welcome the newcomers. The local people called themselves hosts. They called the newcomers guests. In Chinese, that word is ke. That is where the name Hakka comes from. It means guest people. Imagine that you run from war. You walk hundreds of miles. You find a place to live. And everyone there calls you a guest, an outsider, forever. The locals had the good farmland. They had the water. The Hakka had to take what was left. The steep hills, the rocky soil. Tensions grew. Fights broke out. These fights were not small scuffles. They were full-scale battles. Thousands of people fought. Thousands died. We call these the Hakka local wars. And it was not just the locals. Bandits roamed the mountains. Pirates raided the villages. Warlords marched through the valleys. The Hakka were outnumbered. They were surrounded. They had two choices: run again, or find a way to survive. They chose to survive. And they did it by building something the world had never seen. A home that was also a fortress. A village that was also a castle, the Tulou. You think a fortress that can stop an army needs steel, concrete, stone? The Hakka used something much simpler: dirt. 90% of a Tulou is made of packed earth, but not just any dirt. They used red clay, found everywhere in the mountains. It is thick, sticky, strong. They mixed it with lime, sand, small stones. Then they added something you would never expect: brown sugar and sticky rice. Yes, the same rice you eat, the same sugar you put in coffee. The sugar and the rice made the clay stick together even better. It made the wall almost as hard as concrete. Then they added bamboo strips inside the wall, like the steel rebar we use in buildings today. They pounded this mix layer by layer, by hand, for months, for years. The walls they built are 1 to 3 meters thick, thicker than most cars. These walls can do things that will blow your mind. They can stand up to typhoons. They can survive earthquakes. There are Tulou that were hit by huge earthquakes. The walls cracked. Then, over time, the clay closed the cracks on its own. They keep the building cool in summer, warm in winter, and the wide, overhanging roof protects them. The roof sticks out far from the wall. It blocks the hot sun. It keeps rain off the packed earth. This is not an accident. It is a design made just for the rainy, sunny climate of southern China, and they are almost impossible to break through. Let's talk about how this fortress works. First, the outside. The bottom 2 floors have almost no windows. The first floor, 0 windows, nothing, just solid wall. The second floor, only tiny holes, too small for a person to climb through. Only the third floor and up have windows, but these are not regular windows. They are arrow slits. The inside of the window is big. The outside is tiny, just like the windows in Tibetan blockhouses we talked about in our last video. People inside can shoot arrows or guns out. People outside cannot shoot in. They cannot even see in. Then, the gate, the only way in or out. This is not a regular door. It is made of thick, solid wood, wrapped in iron. It has multiple heavy locks. You cannot burn it. You cannot break it with a battering ram. And it has a secret weapon. Above the gate, there is a corridor. Between the corridor and the gate, there are holes. Most of the time, the holes are covered with wooden planks. But if enemies attack the gate, the people inside pull the planks off. They pour boiling water down, or hot oil. It hits the enemies right on top of their heads. There is no way to avoid it. Even if enemies try to dig under the wall, they can't. The bottom of the wall is built with huge, hard river rocks. You cannot dig through them. Once the gate is closed, the Tulou is unbreakable. You are probably picturing a cold, dark prison, a place like a medieval castle, with small rooms and the strict rules. You are wrong, because the outside of the Tulou is closed, locked down, fortified. The inside, it is completely open, warm, welcoming, and it is built around one single core, the family. The very center of every Tulou is the ancestral hall. This is the heart of the building. It is where the family puts the memorial tablets of their ancestors. It is where they hold weddings, funerals, clan meetings, holiday celebrations. Every important moment of life happens here. Everything else in the Tulou is built around this hall. Let's take the most famous type, the round Tulou. It is made of concentric circles, rings inside the rings. The center ring is the ancestral hall, then the inner rings, kitchens, dining rooms, storage space. The outermost ring is the main living area. It is 3 to 4 stories tall. Now, here is the most surprising part. The entire Tulou is split into equal sections, like slices of a cake. Each slice is one family's home. It goes from the first floor all the way up to the top. Every single home is exactly the same size, exactly the same layout. No one gets a bigger house. No one gets a better view. It does not matter if you are the richest man in the family, or the village elder, or a poor farmer. Your home is identical to everyone else's. There is no rich and poor here, no upper class and lower class. Only family, only equals. Let's walk through a family's home. First floor, kitchen, and space for farm animals, like chickens or pigs. Second floor, grain storage, a barn. This is critical, because if the Tulou is under siege, the family needs enough food to survive. A well-stocked Tulou can feed hundreds of people for a year or more, without ever opening the gate. Third and fourth floors, bedrooms. For the whole family, all the homes are connected by a covered corridor. It wraps around the entire inside of the building. You can walk from one end of the Tulou to the other without ever going outside. There are shared staircases, shared wells, shared meals, even a shared school for the kids. Everything you need to live is inside those walls. When the gate closes, the Tulou is its own small city, its own small country, and it runs on one simple rule. We survive together. If one family has a problem, everyone helps. If one family cooks a good meal, They share it with their neighbors. Kids run and play in the big open courtyard in the middle. Elders sit in the sun by the ancestral hall, telling stories of the family's past. Outside the walls, there is war, hate, danger. Inside, there is peace, community, family. That is the magic of the Tulou. The round Tulou is the most famous, but it is not the only kind. It was not even the first. The earliest Tulou looked very different. They are called Wu Feng Lou, the Five Phoenix Building. This is the original Tulou, the first design the Hakka built when they arrived in the mountains. It follows a standard layout. 3 halls, 2 wings. The first hall is the entrance. The middle hall is the ancestral hall. The back hall and the 2 side wings are the living areas. The roofs step down in layers, like a bird spreading its wings. That is why it is called the Five Phoenix Building. But the Five Phoenix Building had a problem. It was not built for defense. As the wars and fights got worse, the Hakka needed something stronger. So they built a square, Tulou, square with 4 solid walls. But they soon found a flaw. Square buildings have corners. Enemies could hide in the corners. The people inside could not shoot them. So they made the final, perfect design, the round Tulou, 360 degrees, no corners, no blind spots. Every inch of the wall is visible from inside. It is stronger in earthquakes. It fits more people. It is easier to defend. The Hakka did not just build this Tulou anywhere. They followed strict rules. Rules we call feng shui. You might think feng shui is just superstition, but for the Hakka, it was survival. First, the main gate. It must face south, or east, or west. It can never face north. Why? 2 reasons. First, the cold winter wind blows from the north. A north-facing gate would let the cold in. Second, the north is where the Hakka came from. It is where the wars came from. It is the direction of all the pain and the loss they ran from. They built their homes facing away from that, facing the sun, facing the future. They also built their Tulou next to rivers. Against the mountains, they used the shape of the land. They did not try to change it. They fit the Tulou into the hills, the trees, the rice terraces. They did not fight nature. They worked with it. That is why these buildings have stood for hundreds of years. They are part of the land, not separate from it. The Tulou reached its peak in the Ming and Qing dynasties. From the 1500s to the 1800s, wars, pirate raids, and battles between locals and the Hakka made the buildings stronger and bigger. Then peace came. The wars ended. The battles between locals and Hakka stopped. Suddenly, the Tulou's big defensive walls were not needed anymore. Young people left the mountains. They moved to cities, to other countries. Many Tulou were left empty. They started to fall apart. It looked like these ancient buildings would disappear forever. But then, the world noticed them. In 2008, 46 Tulou sites were added to the UNESCO World Heritage List. Suddenly, the whole world wanted to see these earth castles. Tourists came, and the young people came back. They repaired the old Tulou. They opened homestays. They told the stories of their ancestors. Today, most of the famous Tulou still have people living in them. They are not museums, not empty relics. They are still homes, still full of life, still full of the smell of home-cooked food, still full of kids playing in the courtyard.